Hey guys, today I'm going to do a quick video on how to do an assembly of your reverse engineering part. The part or the product that I selected was, of course, the car, one of the Automoblox cars. So I'll be demonstrating using that product. But this would be work. It'll work for most any product that you choose to use it for. So as you can see, we are on our OnShape account. If you go back there, you should have a project already set up, and in that project you'll find all of your parts. I've already done an assembly, so I have actually an assembly. There are three types of files we'll be dealing with in any 3D CAD program. There's parts, they all start with parts, then you do an assembly, and then typically you do a drawing file, and we'll be talking about drawing files soon. But today we're going to talk about assemblies. So let's start by just simply creating a new document. Now this new document, just like we did when we did a part, this we're going to call final assembly. All caps all the time. That's a good rule to stick by. And I'm just going to give it a little dash. Make it different than other things that I have going on. And here we are. Now, this looks like starting a new part, but if you look at the bottom of the screen, it gives you the option of going to an assembly. So that's where you want to go. Click assembly. So when you're getting ready to build your parts or put them all together. Now, do you have to have all of your parts finished in order to start an assembly? The answer is no. Like if I finished everything but I didn't finish the tires, I could still put everything together, and then later on I could add the tires to my final assembly. So we get started. We're going to go set insert, going to documents, OnShape, project. And I like to start with the center part because that seems like the middle of everything that I'm going to be doing. Depending on what you got for a product, it's up to you what you start with. But I always assume that the part that you start with is your base part. Everything's going to be attached to that. So think about that, how that's going to be set up. Now, as it comes in, you can see I could place it anywhere I want to place it. But if I just hit the green check, it's going to put it right there on the corner of my origin. If you look at it carefully, it's right on the corner of the origin, even though the bottom corner is rounded, but it's right on the corner. Does that matter? I always like to keep it somewhat close to the origin just when I get started. The most important thing you could do is once you've got your base part in here is to fix it. Basically lock it in place. So I'm just going to right click on it and I'm going to say I want to fix it. Why? So it doesn't move. That way when I start to build put my other parts in here, they are going to lock right to it. So there. I got my first part in. I'm ready to get started on my second part. Insert from OnShape. And I think I'll start with the front end. So, pick up my part. It's going to come up. And my front end goes over here. So I'm just going to place it over there. Check. Now some people would put in all the parts at once. I find it easier to do one part, attach it, one part, attach it. Unless it's something like the rim or the tires where I could bring in 4 of them and I could attach them all at the same time. Now here we come up and now we have to start to choose what type of mate I want to use. There's a revolute mate which works great for cylinders. This is what we're going to use for the axles of the cars. Anybody who's doing a pen or a pencil reverse engineering product, revolute mate would probably be the one you'd want to go with for most of it. Because I have 2 rectangular prisms or 2 rectangular shapes, I think I'm going to use a planar mate. And a planar mate just basically says we're going to mate this surface, and notice I picked the center of that one, to this surface. Oop, I'm going to move it around. Center of that one, and boom, it goes right on there. I'm going to hit check because I like it. Now, looking at it, I assume that is done, and the answer is it is not done. So I'm just going to close that out for now, and I'm going to show you that if you grab this, it still moves all over the place. I thought I just put a planar mate on, and I did. Is it working? And the answer is it is working. I've locked it down so it won't go forward or back, but it still can go up and down. Remember our 6 degrees of freedom. Up and down, forward, back, X, Y, and Z. And even if I go back to my top, watch, it can't go forward. And here we got our depth, our Z value. So it can move in 2 different directions still. I have to lock those down too. To lock down the up and down motion, I'm going back to my planar mate. I'm going to pick the surface here. Now I could pick that point and then come over here and pick that point, and that's going to lock them right in. Check. I'm still not done because it still can move forward and back. So the last point I want to pick is probably this. See how we got this surface there? It's going to be flush with this surface. Make sure you pick the right point. This surface right there. Check. And by doing so, you should have locked it down. That means, oh, I got a planar. Somehow I must have had an extra planar mate on there. I'm going to delete that. Now I've locked it down. You can see every time I go to grab it, I'm getting an error. I can't move it because I actually grounded it down or fixed it down to this one. So it took me 3 planar mates to get that on there, and that's okay. You're going to get better and better at it as you go. So I'm going to bring in another part. Boom. OnShape. Let's bring in the back end. Now there says here that we've got a new version of the back end. I'm not really sure what happened with that new version. I don't think I even changed it, so I'm not going to really worry about it. If I had made a bunch of updates to the back end, then I definitely want the new version. But for now, I think I'm just going to use the old version because I don't remember making any changes to it. Planar mate. I'm going to pick the center of that with the center of this. Boom. Click. This time the top is flat, so I'm going to pick the center. See, if I pick here, and it's interesting, if I pick here and then I pick the center here, watch what happens. It moves it up so the 2 meet up in the middle, right? So they see how they're both in the middle, kind of a pain. Don't freak out. It's okay. If you hit check, it's going to say, okay, I have to go back and look at the other mates I've already put on and understand that all I wanted to do was flush them. Now, you can eliminate that problem by picking the side and the point that matches up with this side and that point. So be careful. Make sure it's selected. So now I have 2 points there, and it should have selected it. Well, let's just make sure that moved in there. I don't know if it did. Oh, see, it didn't work. So I'm just going to go back. I want to make sure I go back and do it right here. Planar mate. Pick this side. Now, if I pick the center, doesn't matter. I'm going to pick that edge. Pick this edge. Oh, watch, it moved it up. Don't freak out. It's okay. Check. It puts it back where it belongs. And so you'll see that I have essentially 6 mates on there right now. It says I have 7. I have to go back. Oh, the number 6 one didn't work. I'm going to delete it. So technically I have to have 3 for the front and then 3 for the back. And that should work. Now we're moving forward. We have to put on some more things for our car. The next thing I'm going to insert is the windshield. Now with the windshield, and having done this before, I was able to make sure that the measurements for the windshield were accurate, because that's really the key. If the holes line up with your pegs and they work out perfectly, you're going to be able to just use what we call a revolute mate. That means all I do is pick the center of the hole. I'm going to pick not the bottom, because if I pick the bottom of this, guess what happens? It'll actually sit up in the air. I'm going to pick right there, which happens to be the same level as the bottom of the windshield. Take a look at it before we hit the check. That looks pretty good. Now, I just put that one in there, and just simply by a revolute, well, look what happens when you do it. Ooh, I'm just moving it around. So I probably want to put one more on there just to make sure it doesn't move around. So I'm going to go back to my Revolute, pick that one. And notice I moved it around so I can get to it. And that one. And once again, don't freak out. Make sure you follow through, hit the green check, and see if it moves it back in its correct location. And it did. So now I don't have anything that's moving. I know when I go to look at your drawing, sometimes what I do is I actually go through and see if I can't move some of those things. You shouldn't be able to move them. I'm ready for some more parts. This time I'm going to pick up my rims. Oh, there we go. This time I need 4 of them. So here's 1. Here's 2. 3. And 4. Good. By the way, if you didn't notice, at any point in time, you can just select the part and it gives you these options. And technically, you could just turn it around if you felt like it was necessary. If you wanted to, you don't have to because you're going to be able to do that using your mates. But you could if you just felt like it's better if they're turned around in the right position. It's going to go together. That's fine. So now I'm going to do the same Revolute mate. Be careful when you pick these because I want the edge of the rim to be touching this edge right there. See that edge? If I pick that one back, it's actually going to be set back the thickness of that or the width of that fillet. Or if I pick this one, it's going to go all the way up against the car. So I'm going to pick this one. Could I pick this one? Yeah, there's no reason why you couldn't pick the bottom of that. It's going to align with this edge right there. Once again, I like to take a look at it to make sure it's going to work. It looks perfect. Say okay. And I do like it. It's going to jump right back in so I can do the next one. I'll pick the bottom edge of this. And boom. Sometimes I'm just going to move it a little bit at a time so I can see it better. With that. Should jump right over. That looks good. Those go on there. This is also the time you find out whether or not your pegs go in the holes correctly. Although if the hole was too small, let's say the hole was too small, or the peg diameter, the peg right here, or the axle was too large, you wouldn't be able to tell because it's going to go on there anyway. It's still going to connect. See, watch what happens when I pick it when it's flipped around. And see how I put it inside there? Don't panic. It gives you the option of flipping it. Say change directions and it pops it right back in for you. So don't panic. It will change it. So a lot of times this is where people find out or students find out that you didn't have the exact right dimensions on your axles and your wheels. And you can go back and correct them and simply update your drawings. It should work. So let's see. That looks good. There. Now we have most of the assembly done. Finally, I got to bring in the 4 tires. Remember, for our project, tire tread is optional. I put a tire tread on. Sometimes I think it makes it look too busy, but I did put a tire tread on, just a very simple one. If you want to attempt to do a tire tread, you're welcome to do so. So now I'm going to use the same Revolute mate, and I'm just going to pick the edge here, and I'll pick the outside edge here. Make sure you pick the edge. Boom. Looks good. Check. This one. You can pick the outside edge, this one or that one. It doesn't matter. It's going to put it on there. They're going to be concentric, right? And then finally, we have 2 more tires to put on. Oop, not that edge. You want to make sure you give it the outside edge and the outside edge. Isn't that funny? I only got one. See how it connected to the tire, but I didn't get the rim? There it goes. By the way, as you're doing that, you can still delete them. Like if I connected to the wrong edge, I can go back up and just hit X and get rid of that selection and go back and edit it as I need to. There it is. 1, 2, 3, 4 tires and rims, and we are done. Now, one thing I didn't like is how my isometric view turned out. I kind of wanted, when I put it on my cover sheet, that it's going to be turned around the other way, like it's going to be facing front. So what you do is this. You go File, Name, View. And I just type in, well, first of all, you have to have the view the way you want it. Like, that's the kind of way, that's the way I want it right there. Matter of fact, you may even want to add a little turn on perspective. Nah, that's ugly. I'm going to go back to isometric. And then I'm going to turn it around. Oh, the perspective is still on. See that? Turn off perspective. But I do want to go in and name the view. I'm going to name the view. This is how I want it situated. So I'm going to name it ISO view, whatever you want to call it. That's going to give you an option. That's actually going to give you an option when you go to put it on a cover sheet. It's going to give you isometric, and then it's going to give you ISO view, and you may select ISO view instead of isometric. So it's up to you. Now, next step. We got 2 more things to do. One, we got to do our BOM, a list of materials, which is right here. Really simple to do. The only things that I'm requiring that you have the item number, 1 through 6, right? In this case, how many there are of each item, quantity. And I need the names of the item. Now, so I don't need the part number. I'm just going to right click and remove that. And I have it down as description because under description, you can type in anything you want. Now, if description doesn't come up and you get some other column, you can come in and just add it. Like if I added name right now, you'll see that I added all the names. My problem is it keeps coming up with the back end as a center. I have to go back and edit that probably. I'm going to just delete the name column. So just stick with these 3, items, quantity, and description. And know that you can change the description basically anytime. And that opens up simply by hitting the box right here. Now, final step. Not only do we have to have the assembled view, but we also need the exploded view. To add an exploded view, see right here, it says exploded views. All right, we're ready to add exploded view. So the BOM was here, but the exploded view is here. Add exploded view. I'm going to pull this to the right a little bit just to keep it out of the way. So I'm going to start, see a minute right now, I'm going to start by picking up the windshield. And I'm just going to pull that out of the way. Notice that you pull it the same way that it would come apart. Now, here's your choice. Do you want to include the line, that's exploded line, or do you not? I think I'm going to take it off this one. The distance you can type in specifically if you want to. Doesn't matter. Check. Excuse me. Now, I'm going to pull out the front. But not only am I going to pull out the front, I'm going to pull out the front with the tires and rims. And then I'm going to separate the tires and rims out after that. So let me just move this around so I can select some pieces here. So there's the front. Now watch what happens as I go. That's the back rim. There's the front. So I'm going to click on that one. That's the back one. I need this rim. Nope, that's the back tire. There's the front tire. That's the back tire. Here's your front tire. So now that I have them all selected, I can pull them all out. Check. So I've got 2 steps thus far. Now, interesting, it keeps selecting this part. I think I'm just going to go back and do the back part now. Doing the same thing though. I'm going to select what rims I want. That one, and that one, and which tire I want to grab simply by holding it over the top. Boom, those. And I'm going to pull that one back. Oh, I should have probably got rid of those lines. You can still get rid of those lines now or go back and edit it after. Check. Now I'm going to start pulling the wheels off, and then I'll pull the rim off. So when I do that, I'm going to start by just selecting one thing. Notice I can just deselect them like this, boom. So it's like a toggle. You can select them and then deselect them. I'm just going to pick that tire. Make sure it says tire too, because a lot of times it doesn't. So watch, I'm just going to pull this out. Now to make it quicker, I'm going to grab this tire as well. And as long as I still have that pulled out, it's going to push that one out the same distance, which definitely makes it quicker, right? Check. And now I'm going to grab this rim. Oh, the rim went out too. See that? I didn't mean for that to happen. So step 4, I want to get rid of that. Notice I just hit that and it puts it right back where it belongs. Check. Now we're starting a new step. That's why. This one's going to land somewhere between the two, and I want that to do the same. Check. Then finally, we have to do the wheels on the back. So now I'm going to select this wheel. Hopefully I grabbed the tire. Oh, see, I got the rim. So not that one, not that one. Click, click. Don't want any of those. I could do that one. And I certainly could do this one. It's going to give me both of them. I'm going to pull those out first. Check. And then finally, I'm going to grab that rim and this rim, and I'm going to pull those out so they land in between. Something to that effect. And that should finish off our exploded view. I would just say done. Now when I say done, it closes, but I can always right click on it and expand exploded view. Done like that. So now's your chance to start tweaking it any way you want. I noticed that I probably want to get rid of those. I think that was step number 2. So I double click on it, click on remove lines, and it just gets rid of them. Now, interesting, I have a line goes through here and here, but I forgot. So I kind of want to put these tire lines back in. So I have to go back and look at what step that was. It highlights it for you. And I'm going to put those lines back in. And done. Now, what I look for in a good exploded view, it should be at an isometric angle, the same one you did your assembly in. There should be no overlapping parts, meaning there should be white space all the way around each one, and they should be somewhat the same distance, what I call equidistant from the center. So, and it's got to come out the same way that it should if you exploded it. How would it pull apart? Boom. So now you have your exploded view, you have your bill of materials, and you have your assembly, all said and done. Nice work. As always, good luck. Let me know if you have any problems. I'll talk to you soon.